Battleline Podcast. You know what's funny? Out of habit, I'm like pointing at the video, and I realized we're just going to be doing audio for this episode, so it's just funny. Yeah, Battleline Podcast. Ian Scotto here.
I am Tonto. What's up, guys?
And yeah, we're going to be commemorating 3 years of the podcast.
Did you say commemorating or commemorating? Commemorate. Is that how they say it in New York? I thought there was.
What did I say?
Commemorating. Come on,
really?
Man.
Commemorating. Yeah, 3 years of the show. So whether you're someone who got on board in the past few months or you've been with us since day one, really appreciate it. I mean, during the pandemic, I feel like every single person was starting a podcast, and I hear now on eBay and Amazon you can get equipment super cheap because people were just like, yeah, I don't have time for this, and they don't realize the work that gets put into it. So I think 3 years is a pretty cool milestone.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going that long, and I agree with you. And people's attention span, no matter how much they say they work hard or don't work hard, they say they work hard. Honestly, if something doesn't pop like that, they don't want to put the time into it. That's today's society. It's not like when we grew up, man, or when I grew up. I don't know. You're in that Gen X millennial. I'll try
millennial. I don't know. I don't want to say Gen X.
Okay,
I'm 36 years old.
Well, I don't even know which.
Or yeah, you're thinking Gen Z.
Gen Z. I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
I'm Gen X. That's a good generation.
Right, that's right.
Gen Z. I don't know, guys. You got to fix your shit. But yeah. I just think people, a lot of them too. Also, they started. I had a lot of buddies that started it, and then they just quit because they're like, well, why didn't I get successful overnight? Well, because you're not a Kardashian, you don't have a big ass, you don't have big boobs. So that's one thing. But second of all, you still got to put the work into it, and that's one thing I think we have done is put the work into it and just have fun. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But have fun in the meantime. And luckily, it's been going pretty well. And it's gotten better. I think it's honestly has improved.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree that people, they just want instant gratification for things. And hey, to be honest, your fan base really gave us a head start, I would say, in terms of getting some great sponsors.
They're great people. They're great people. Great people.
And we've been able to keep things going. So in terms of that, actually a sponsor who's been on with us since very early on that I really connected us with, and we've been so happy with this, Ned. Ned is just great. I mean, I was a skeptic of CBD, honestly, before they came on board with us. And then you're only pointing at me.
I know, but let me do it anyway. Just let me do it. Shut up. Just keep going. Let me do it anyway.
Video will be back at some point. We can get into that after this. But I was a skeptic at first, and now I'm all about the CBD. I mean, the benefits, especially for sleep, getting you in that deep delta state of sleep. And it's a part of my nightly ritual. And a ritual is a daily or nightly practice that helps you stay grounded. It's an intentional act where you take a few minutes to reconnect with and take care of yourself. Daily routines are mundane and make you feel stuck in a rut. Daily rituals are meaningful and help you become the person you want to be. Transforming your life can be as simple as bringing more attention to the things you do every day. And it's certainly done that for me and for you. So these products are science-backed, nature-based solutions. They offer an alternative to prescription and over-the-counter drugs. Ned CBD is cold extracted from the world's purest USDA certified organic hemp in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And I know for you've been using it now for nearly 3 years.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I use the CBD oil mainly, but also the pain relieving balm, and then also the body butter, great stuff. But the CBD oil just once a day for me. When I first started, it was a little bit more to get that stress level down. But I also found that the effects of inflammation, having ulcerative colitis, and that taking that actually internally, the drops has actually helped with my internal inflammation as well as the inflammation on the exterior using pain relieving balm and the body butter. So guys, and I have tried other CBDs just to see. And Ned is by far the best. There's no comparison to any other CBDs out there, guys. So if you want the best CBD on the market, you go with Ned, and it does work. And they have so much. We started at them at ground level, so it was really just the CBD, and now they have a plethora of products, and they're all outstanding. And the integrity of the company, and they do support veterans. They do, and it's just the integrity of the companies is top notch. So Ned's. Get them a shot, guys, and you won't go back to anything else.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. In full transparency, they share third-party lab reports, who farms their products, and their extraction process all right there on their site. Their products have over 2,000 five-star reviews, so become the best version of yourself and get 15% off Ned's products with the code BATTLELINE. Go to helloned.com/battleline or enter Battleline at checkout. That's HELLONED.com/battleline to get 15% off. Thank you, Ned, for sponsoring the show and offering our listeners a natural remedy for some of life's most common health issues. And also on board for this episode is a great brand that you've brought on with us that does stuff with us occasionally, and we love what they do, and that is Thadia. Courageous, brave, heroic. The words used by the apparel brand Thadia to recognize everyday individuals, to athletes, to those who protect us. Thadia was created with the sole purpose to inspire individuals to personify their courage and bravery. With the use of advanced garments, Thadia provides the performance and functionality you expect from your apparel while exemplifying you. See the full line of Thadia products and the Thadia KTP apparel line at thadia.com. A lot of the new shirts are awesome, man.
There are.
The new KTP
They are. And now that I've been with them for a while, I get the input to how to design the things, which has been awesome. Hey, that's pretty good. Cool. And that's the only workout gear I wear, and just everyday wear, just the sweats, especially out here. It's 27 degrees out here in Kansas right now. I'm wearing their gray sweats, the dark gray sweats, and I'm comfortable and warm, and they look good. I mean, it's just something I can just wear out and go shopping into, as well as going to the gym. And the shirts are not compression, but they are form fitting, which I think, we don't need compression shirts. Just get something nice you can wear to the gym that's comfortable. So that is tremendous company, guys. And they don't use anything, and they don't use any of the companies in China to make their stuff, which to me, that's a plus. So great company, and been with us forever, and I love them to death.
Absolutely. I have to add the disclaimer whenever we mention that, though. Some of the really old stuff, there might be, if you order some of the stuff that's on sale, that stuff maybe, but any of the new stuff, they're no longer doing business with China. So just got to add that in there for Scott, so that he realizes just that people get sent stuff and they're like, what the hell? But that's some of the older stuff. So you can check it all out at Thadia, THADDEA.com. Use the promo code THADIAKTP to get 15% off your order. Although I did notice on the website, there's currently a 20% off your first order on there. So you might end up using that, and I'll throw it out there to Scott. If people aren't using the promo code, maybe that's why, because I just saw right when you go on the site, you get the 20% off. So if that's no longer there, though, or if it's not your first order, you could use that promo code THADIAKTP for 15% off. Thadia, inspired by the heroic and worn by the courageous and brave. Once again, guys, Thadia.com, THADDEA.com.
From Omaha, Nebraska to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Twitch is on. Motherfucker, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battleline Podcast.
Battleline Podcast. As I said earlier, this is an audio-only episode. We'll get back to doing video at some point. It's kind of crazy. The last few episodes, I was saying, like, we're really stepping up the video game here, and now we're doing audio only. I have someone else who may be game for it, and we'll see what happens.
You hit roadblocks, and the work ethic, or just even the ideologies of what we expect and what people we bring on, what they expect, and just the time, that you got to put into it. So, for those that did help us, Zach over there at Squatch Media, and was it Dave?
D worked with us for months, and
I always say Dave
from the team house.
D from the team house. They did a tremendous job, but it's just one of those things where it just didn't work out, and that's fine. But we'll find somebody. We'll get the video back up, because even though most of our listeners are audio, I think having that option it does bring us to the level that we need to be at, and that's what we expect to be at. And so even if you're not watching videos, I think still having that option is always a plus, and it does bring some solidification to us being a real podcast that should compete with the others out there. Whether you like stuff or not, we still have to give you those options. So we'll find somebody. I know Ian, he's a professional. He'll find somebody. He's in New York. I know we'll get somebody deep, somebody great out there. And if not, I was thinking too, I was on a show Ghost over the Marine. I've been on the show a couple of times. It does that little ticker at the bottom.
Yeah.
I may reach out to him if you just let me know offline. And I know he does a tremendous job with his show, and it's a possibility as well. So, but yeah, we'll get it back up, guys. Sorry about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I actually have a call today with someone who's associated with my friend Adam Hamway, announcer for the New Jersey Devils, great guy.
That's right. Yep.
So he might be game. We'll see, but we'll get it up and running. As Chris said, the majority of you guys listen anyway. I personally listen to all my podcasts, but I've always said if we're going to have video, I want it to be more than just. I mean, I could put it up if it was just putting up the raw video. But I want it to look really good. And you are right. They, Ghost, they do a great job. So we'll figure something out. With that, since we've had so many guests on and they've been great, we haven't done a guest-free episode like this in a long time where we just do a Q&A. And I feel like we've had to rush through all of it. I think people would probably like to hear an update from you regarding both you are no longer in a brace.
Yeah.
And as well as you've done probably in the course of the past month, like 3 or 4 speaking engagements.
Oh my gosh. I've done eight events in the last 45 days. So like I told Ian.
What? 8? Are you exaggerating?
No, I had 8. I was San Diego twice, Naples, Florida, Atlanta, Sacramento, Omaha, New York. And there was one more in there as well. Why can't I remember what it was? I can't remember. That's
I didn't realize it was.
Yeah. Well, I went, and a blessing. And again, it's a testament just to say hard work. Man, I busted my ass there when I first started, when the movie came out, and did some speaking events. And I didn't know there was, I'll be honest, I didn't know there was honorariums involved. I had no idea. I just was out there promoting the movie, and Paramount actually had me out there speaking at churches and speaking at corporations when the movie came out. And it's like anything else. I worked my ass off for 3 years. I probably did 70, 80 events a year, if not more, for the first 2-3 years. And it did damn near crush me. We talk about it on the show. I've talked about it on other shows. It put me in a really bad place, and it didn't help with the keeping the family together at all, because I was gone just as much as I was deploying. But now I'm at a point where, if you are a speaker, a public speaker, a motivational speaker, if you don't go that Joel Osteen church route, which I can't. I mean, I've spoken at churches, but I that's not me. I drop too many F-bombs. I'm not classy enough to do. Granted, I have done some big churches, and they are great events. Speaking at the big churches, they're fantastic. But the corporate events is where you want to be at when you're a public speaker, because of or just, as far as just being able to speak in front of a group. And if you're looking into the finances of it, that's usually where you're going to get paid the most. And I've been able to work my way up to those levels. Now, the pay is good, but the biggest thing is that there's just tremendous events. They're awesome people, and the professionalism, the way they set up the events, it is a production. And they treat me so well. So it's good that I'm into there finally, and I can get away from I don't speak at political rally. I don't do that crap.
Yeah. I was going to say that's the cool thing, I think, for you, is like they're not trying to put you in with any sort of agenda. You just go up there and you say exactly what you want to say. And
how that is too, is just going back and lessons learned. You talk about leadership, you talk about overcoming adversity. That is a theme that I've seen in the last year, that corporations are struggling with the younger generation coming in. They built what we just talked about. They want to go to the top level just like that. They don't value hard work like the generations before them. They expect that they should be at the top. And they also faith is something in the corporate world which is taboo almost. We'll talk about God, and I'll get up there and talk about God and faith and believing in a higher power. I'm a Christian. I will, as a good Christian, I'm not going to tell you that you got to believe in Christianity or believe in how Christians believe in God. All I'm going to tell you is believe in something, because there is something bigger than us out there. And fighting alongside Muslims, I can tell you that we both believed in something when shit hit the fan, whether it was God or Allah, there was that same thing. And that's where we're speaking at corporate events. It is motivational. It's more leadership, but it's more than anything, it's overcoming adversity. And I get to talk about my life growing up, having a picker, an immigrant, a wetback, if you want to call, for all you non-PC people out there, which I love you. But that's what I call them. That's what I learned to call them growing up. But a grandfather that came from Mexico, a grandmother that came from Mexico, and how they worked their asses off and made me be that kind of person. Never quit. You don't give up. Hijo, did you work hard enough? I remember, did you work hard enough? Did you get what you wanted? No, grandma, no, well, I didn't. Well, hijo, did you work hard enough? I remember that to this day. And 9 times out of 10, if I didn't get what I wanted, it's because I didn't work hard enough. It wasn't somebody else's fault. It's because I didn't bust my ass. And that is something in the corporate speaking that you can talk about, and it makes Benghazi no more just be talking about anger. You can find the positives of it and learn from it. And that's where I'm glad I'm at that point here. But yeah, speaking of hate events, it still wears me the hell out. And I hate being away from home. It's the weirdest thing, man. I could go overseas for 6 months, 7 months, be fine. I can't even be gone for more than 48 hours now and feel like, God, I just want to be, it's like, I don't want to.
It seems like I think it's just, like different chapters of your life and stuff, because I mean, me, I follow music so much, and I kind of relate everything back to music. And there are certain bands where there are guys who still put out really quality music. They love being in the studio. They love working on their craft. They love making new albums. And some of those guys are like, look, I'm still going to record. I don't want to be on the road. I don't want to be doing 200 dates a year. Yeah. Even having Edsel Dope on here, like, he scaled it back a lot, because he's like, I now have a kid. Yeah. I'm now the stepfather to a kid. He's like, I want to be home with them. I'm still going to tour, but he even said on the show with me, really, he was like, I don't want to be 65 years old doing this. He's like, I know that the Rolling Stones still do it. He's like, I got to be honest, it doesn't really appeal to me. Yeah. And I think that was honest, because I think people do want to hear, like, oh, I want to be doing this for life, but like, your life changes and your goals change and
priorities always change. Priorities change, and family should be the priority. It should be. And as fathers today, we need to be present. And I wasn't present. Luckily, I had a wonderful wife that took over the duties of father and mother. And she raised my 2 oldest. They're tremendous kids. But, that being said, I should have been home more. I wish I would have been home more, but I was doing what I was doing. So now with my 7-year-old, I do want to be present more. And I do see positives in fathers being present. And so we need to be, and that's something where, I just want to be home. Let's get it. Let's go knock stuff out. Let me be home. I don't want to go nowhere. Yesterday, what I did? I turned the TV off. I looked outside, because I got these nice big windows in the back of my house, and I watched the sunset. That's fun to me now.
And the sunset's awesome in Kansas.
It's like water.
That. I think the last time we hung out, we were watching a sunset.
Yeah, we might be able to watch one here in December 9th and 10th, but we'll probably do it from indoors, because it'll be cold. We'll get outdoors again. Yep.
And then in terms of the recovery, I'm wondering, like, the doctors you're seeing, do they feel like it's quicker than they expected?
I'm way ahead of. I can't go too fast, so they actually are rationing me back. They're like, you got to not go so fast. Stop pushing yourself, because we need it to heal. But I'm at 120 degrees with the bend on my knee. And if for anybody that knows patellar tendon tears, quadricep tears, and quadricep tendon tears, which I had a quadricep tendon tear and a quadricep fraying, which is a quadricep tear. It just didn't tear all the way through. It's that everything retracts back up in your legs. You got to restretch it back out. And I tell you what, Ian, I think we talked about one show when I was able to get on. That shit's painful. Man, but I am at.
And I'll say, man, you are not a guy who complains. So
no, and so but it was, I like. It's the weirdest thing. I like pain. I mean, I don't like it, but I do. I feel that it's like you feel like you accomplished something. And I'm at 120 degrees on my bend. I'm easy, which I shouldn't be that far. Granted, they said don't go any farther. I could probably go push to 125 or 130, but I'm not supposed to be to 125 for 2 more weeks, and I could probably reach there already. So it's great, but the swelling's still there. I still have to build back the muscle. It atrophied, which you're supposed to do, but that's coming back. I'm able to ride a bike now, which I shouldn't be able to. This should have been another month, but like, no, you're good. Let's get on the bike. And
like a stationary
bike. Yeah. Because I mean, I could ride a bike, but if I crashed or had to press on this leg, there's still the healing process, because when you reattach the tendon, you still have to reattach it with anchors. And those things have to basically meld into your muscle in your knee or whatever the hell they tie it into. But man, it's been a great experience. I'll be honest. I think quadricep 10, this has been a tremendous experience for me, because it's allowed me to, again, dig into some toughness that I always have had, but I didn't ever have to dig into it because I wasn't deploying anymore. That toughness that you really do have when you go overseas and you're gone from your family, but just the physicality of getting hurt, of being a Ranger and getting hurt, but knowing that it's still there. And then it was goals. To me, it was goal. I wanted to be above what they told me I needed to be, because I want to excel. I'm here. I'm excel. Yeah. So it's always a positive. You can look at anything and turn it into a positive by just making it a goal. Focus. This is where I want to. You're telling me I need to be here. I'm going to be here. And that's where I'm at. And it's honestly, it makes me feel like anyone, once you accomplish a goal or you're beyond that goal, it'll make you feel good. That's just human nature. And that's why should we always feel like that and everything? That's why we want good video. That's why we're not just second rate in our video, because we want video. No, we want video up beyond of what a regular normal podcast video. We want it excellent. And I think that's how we should tackle anything in life, even an injury. And I'm here, brother, but I still got a couple more months. I'll give it 2 months through maybe 90 days, just so I don't hurt it again before I actually start running again. I could probably run before that, but I sure as heck don't want to re-injure it. And the docs, I do what the docs tell me. I don't do what they don't tell me. So we're good, man.
Yeah, it sounds like positive self-talk and positive affirmations and all that has been like good for you.
Hey, why do you think I'm a public speaker? I'm a motivational speaker and a corporate speaker. And I tie little things like this into the speech, in the talks too. It's not just Benghazi. In fact, Benghazi is just a obstacle that I went through that got me through the suicide attempts later on. I tell people as they ask me, well, it's big, and we've talked about on the show before, but Benghazi didn't cause me to go down those roads. I would have went down those roads anyway because of all the years prior to. Maybe Benghazi expedited it, but looking in a mirror and wanting to kill myself and thinking, man, Army twice, you're going to get back with your wife. You're going to fix your shit with your wife. You went through hell on earth with Benghazi and you got through it. Why in the hell are you going to quit on yourself now? And it's like I put the gun down. It's like Benghazi got me through that point in my life. So you can look at every trial and tribulation, obstacle as either a detriment, or you can look at it as something to learn and grow from. And that's how I look at life. And Benghazi is a big part of that positivity. Now, it's not negative at all, but I had to fix that and not going on the news and being angry, but being pushed to anger, or allowing myself to be manipulated into being angry has been a tremendous help because I've stopped doing that. So yeah, that's essentially what it is. And essentially what Battleline Podcast is.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's find ways to be positive in everything in life, even when it's shitty. Let's embrace the suck. That's what we always call it. Yeah.
100%. So do you think with the coming year, are you changing your speaking schedule around? Are you going to make sure like November is not like ridiculously packed?
You know what? It's tough to do because that's when most corporate retreats are in the spring and they're in the fall. So those are my busy times. I think the ones where I had to go to Atlanta, to Naples, to San Diego, back to Atlanta, back to San Diego, the cross country trips. Yeah, we'll cut that out. So, and speaking of that, I had to fly through that damn hurricane. I didn't think we were going to leave Naples. I was like, there's no way. Oh yeah, it's on time. Worst 4 hour, because I had to fly to San Diego. So we had to stop in Atlanta, and then I had to fly from Atlanta to San Diego. And buddy, I don't think people know I am scared of flying. I have been scared to fly since I was young. That's why whenever I was at Airborne, when I was at Ranger Battalion or going through Airborne or anything, I wanted to jump because I wanted to get out of that plane. I was like, this sucks. So yeah, that was shitty, dude. 4 hours of turbulence, and I know the pilots got it. I know the mechanism. I've got enough miles to orbit the freaking sun with every airline, and how many times I've flown with the Air Force, and then even just on Army helicopters. I've tons. So I know the mechanisms are safe. I know pilots are well trained. But still, man, being banged around for 4 hours until we got over Arkansas, that sucked. That was awful. But how do you get through it? I sat there, I watched a movie, I stayed positive. I look out the window. I just keep your mind busy, not just worry about, oh shit, what is that? And again, it's another thing that we all go through in life. Everybody goes through something. They may be scared of something, but you got to get through it sometimes. And it sucks, but how do you get through it? You just keep pushing forward. And luckily the plane kept going forward. We hit the end of Arkansas and it smoothed out for the next, 3.5 hours that we had. And, but man, that's still where I was thinking about that on the plane. Like, been through all this shit and here I am shitting my pants right now on a plane with turbulence. But it's like, you know what? It is what it is. Let's get through it. And I watched Grandma. That's how I got my mind off it. Grandma's Boy. I turn on Grandma's Boy. I love. I got to turn. Yes, that is one of the best Adam Sandler without Adam Sandler movies ever. Yeah. Is Grandma's. And I got through it watching Grandma's Boy, and I watched Fletch. Those two, and made me.
I got to be honest. I never watch movies on flights. I just read. I read and I listen to music.
I try to read. I listen to music a lot too. But if I'm in turbulence, what gets me out of it, if I can really get into a movie. And it's funny, either funny or it's got to be a war movie. So my mind really gets into the movie. That's how I get through the turbulence. If it's an easy flight, music, and I'll probably play a game on my phone. But no, movies is how I get through it, especially if it's something I really enjoy. And I watched that documentary on Nolan Ryan on the plane. On one of the flights. It was really good. No,
I mean he's an inspiring guy. I know that.
Oh, hell yeah! I grew up on that guy. I have my own baseball cards from Nolan Ryan. Those things are worth some money now. But that's another guy where, again, I grew up on those kind of sports figures that they busted their ass. And I just didn't know he had such a hard time coming up. He was with the Miracle Mets, your Mets, when they won the World Series. But he was like not even one of their starters. And he came back. He wasn't even, he got cut. He got traded. He basically.
I didn't, to be honest. I don't follow it that closely. So I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, he was traded. He was like, no, you're not good enough to be a Met. And they traded him to the Angels and I didn't know that either. It's like, holy shit, they had Nolan Ryan when he was at the beginning and they cut him because he didn't fit into the rock. He wasn't good enough to make the Mets roster. I was like, okay, that is wow. I bet they're regretting that to this day. But yeah, it's just cool. Good stuff. Good documentaries on and good movies and everything out there, guys. Just embrace the fucking suck, get through it, and just stay positive as best you can. Everything in life. It's not just just because I've been in combat a few times, it's not something that you can't relate to me or anybody else, Clint Emerson or who else have we had on the show that's been in
I think that one of the craziest is probably Mike Schlitz and
Mike Schlitz, Matt Waters. Well, even he said, Matt Waters, my buddy Sergeant Waters, Ranger, he even said the same thing. Remember when he said, hey, you guys out there, don't compare your stress to your trials and tribulations to me. Because we still all go through it, regardless what you think it is, whether it's hard or not, you're still going through that trial and tribulation and that stress and that duress, just like I am going through mine. And it's the same. And I agree with that. In fact, I use that when I speak now. So Maddie, thanks, buddy. I threw that in my speaking. So
that's the cool thing about doing the podcast. Yes, I think that some of these things that we hear from people translates to other avenues. I don't want to get into like the specifics of it, but certain podcasts I've done, there's been excerpts used of interviews I've done used in other people's books. I'll say that. And it's because they had great stories. Like, I'm trying to think of, it's funny. There's one guy, the reason I'm not remembering his name is because I'm thinking of his real name and he uses the pen name. So James Powell, but I was going to use his real, but like his story of going to the CIA.
Yeah.
And him looking kind of nervous and the woman saying, you look nervous, why do you, what's going on here? And he's like, there's a bunch of Ivy League grads. There's a bunch of Navy SEALs. I'm just a Marine. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And then the woman saying to him, look, if you're here, there's a reason you're here. So you better act like it.
Yeah.
So that's been used in books, and that was from an interview I did, So I think some of these interviews translate to other things, which is great. And you were talking about the hurricane situation. My mom was in Costa Rica, and she ended up flying to Florida early, and then flying back to New York because she wanted to avoid that whole thing. She was vacationing in Costa Rica, said it rained the entire time. But yeah.
It is what it is. Luckily, it was only a category 1, so we got out of there, man. And then I followed it all the way up the coast. I just chased it like shit. Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, no, it's good. And James is a great guy. I love James, tremendous guy. And you're exactly right on that. I loved when he said that. That's hit the nail on the head with that right there.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. I think we'll have him back on at some point.
Yeah.
I'm always weird with the guys who use these other names. I don't think he even cares that much, but I try to be cognizant of it. I'm like, all right, if they use a pen name, I'm going to say their pen name, which is why some of them are funny. Like when we've had Coriolanus on, I want to call him by his real name, but I'll call you Coriolanus. And there's a few guys like that who have Frumentarius, who's written for websites. But anyway, we'll get some emails from you guys. Before we do, now you can have the superpower to see in the dark with the Viper Binocular Night Vision System by Photonis Defense, which is the global leader in night vision solutions, providing more high-quality night vision capabilities than anyone. Military, law enforcement, and public safety end users utilize Photonis Defense solutions to give them the edge at night in tactical situations and rescue operations. Hunters, shooters, boaters, and enthusiasts can rely on the Photonis Defense Viper Binocular to help them become master of darkness. The new Viper Binocular system carries the same features and benefits as the Photonis Defense Viper Monocular, with a ruggedized body, and harnesses the power of the Echo Intensifier tubes, giving you sharper images, reduced halo, and industry-leading ultra-fast auto-gating across the range of dynamic operating conditions. Visit photonisdefense.com for more information, or look for Photonis Defense product options from your local night vision dealer. That's PHOTONIS defense.com. And I should throw in there that, we'll be having Phil Otto from Photonis Defense back on the podcast in person, because we have that course coming up that you're doing with Phil December 9th and December 10th. I believe it's sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, we got it. We got a new, but we do have one April 22nd, 23rd at my range, and at our it's Eddie Ronji's range, but it's a Battleline home range in Tulsa, Kiefer, Oklahoma. April 22nd, 23rd of next year, we'll be having Phil back out. We'll do another night vision course out there in April.
Well, Phil is one of our most listened to episodes. It's in the top 10 most listened to episodes. So I'm definitely excited to have him back on in person for sure. Love speaking with him. He's got a, really great depth of knowledge in terms of his experience as law enforcement, CIA contractor, Marine. He's really done a lot. So I'm excited to see him. And then we'll also shoot the video teaser for the upcoming Patreon. I'm looking forward to doing that as well. So once again, guys, photonisdefense.com for more information. Photonis Defense. And of course, Fort Scott Munitions sponsors every show. Fort Scott is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, and then on the website, you'll get a discount through us, FSM.com. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of the Battleline podcast. Are those are the Battleline tactical tins available yet? I haven't checked that.
They will be. I believe we're going to do it right at the real Black Friday time, right around Thanksgiving. So it's still going to be a couple weeks. So I know they're not, because I still got to sign all the labels. They're sitting on my desk, and I still got to sign them.
Nice.
So it'll be right around Thanksgiving, right around that time frame.
Awesome. Yeah. So FortScottMunitions.com. Website is as easy as that. FSM.com. Promo code Battleline for 15% off. And that's on merchandise. That's on everything. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. I shouldn't say on everything, because I know with the Photonist defense, it's not 15% off, but I think you get some sort of a discount.
You do get a discount. No, you do get a discount. I just wish I knew what the amount it was. Go in there, just type in Battleline. You'll see the discount. And yeah, with how much, and that's mil spec night vision, guys. That's not just your fake civilian. That's top tier. So yeah, if you see the price, don't let your eyes jump out of your skull. That's mil spec. That's what you get. But man, when you get even a 10% discount on that, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's why they couldn't do the 15%, I believe, because they were like, yeah, we would make no money. So that's why they have to do that. So you're going to get the best price through us on there, Fort Scott Munitions.
Easy. Yep.
Yeah, with that, we'll get to some emails. We've got a ton of different emails. Actually, shouldn't say a ton, but we've got quite a few here, so we'll go through them. And then I think we could also reminisce on some of our favorite memories from the show of these past 3 years. I think would be cool. So these are all sent to battlelinepodcast@gmail.com. We'll start here with Karen. She writes, you've met many heroes and patriots in your life, I imagine. Have you ever met one that has overcome personal and professional challenges like Adam Brown? If so, who was it and what did they overcome? So I don't know about you, and that's from Karen Ball. I'll be perfectly honest. I wasn't familiar with Adam Brown, so I had to do Google. Adam Brown was a Navy SEAL from SEAL Team 6, killed in action in the Hindu Kush, March 17th, 2010. I don't know if you were familiar with him.
I didn't know him. I mean, I wasn't familiar with the story. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't. So
yeah, it seems like an inspiring story.
Yeah. Do you want to go into it a little bit? You want to give people a back, or can you?
I mean, I just kind of looked at that, and I think it's just an inspiring story. The fact that he served his country at such a young age, passed away doing what he did, like so many other guys that we've spoken about on the podcast.
That's the thing, is that I think everyone that served has an inspiring story. I think our podcast in itself shows that. Just even people you haven't heard of, and their inspiring stories that they have. Every one of our veterans that have come on. So has one affected me more than the other? No, I think just the unit itself to me is inspiring. When I joined the Ranger Battalion, it wasn't because of a person, it was because of people that have gone in the unit. So I say the unit is inspiring. What I mean to say is that everybody that served at a Ranger Battalion is inspiring, because every one of them has overcome some type of adversity, and then they continue to overcome adversity while they're even there. Every day is a gut check. So I think my most inspiring though is probably my parents. My mother, who was poor as hell, grew up, my grandfather and grandmother, her mother and father were migrant workers, were wetbacks, were pickers that came over from Mexico, didn't have anything. And my mom busted her ass and became a teacher, a very, very successful teacher, did very, very well. And my father, and this is saying a lot, my father was in West Texas. He grew up in Spur. He was poorer than my grandfather. My grandfather was a migrant worker. He was a picker, and my dad was poorer than he. I'm not saying anything. And my father didn't have a mother or father because they both died when he was one. My grandfather on that side was a World War II pilot. My grandmother on that side died out here, actually in Kansas. There's a stretch of road that's still there that goes to Wichita, and you'll fall asleep. I mean, literally, people falling asleep on it all the time because it's so boring. There's nothing out there. And she died on that road. So my father, to overcome all that and get his PhD and become a successful football coach and a tremendous provider of the families, those are to inspire me. That's who. And then when I do my talks, that's who I talk about. Those are my examples. I grew up with the never quit attitude. I thought it started at Ranger Battalion. It didn't. As I thought back, like, wait a second, it started when I was younger. It was already there. It was being seeded into me by my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, my father, saying, dude, you don't quit. You just keep getting back up on the horse. How many times you fall off, you keep riding, you get back on it. And that stayed with me forever. So, but that being said, I think anyone that finds anybody that can inspire them, man, that's awesome. So there's always an inspiration, because if you learn from that inspiration, you'll become somebody that can inspire somebody else down the line. We all can inspire everybody else. Do something that's inspiring. And we may not even think it's inspiring, but somebody else will see it like, wow, that pushed me. That got me through. That got me. And I wish I could say there's a military person, but I would say there's a ton of military people. But in the end, the beginning was my mother and father and their upbringings, which pushed me to always want to be successful and success being just being the best person I can be and never, ever giving up, no matter what. You never give up. And that got me through Benghazi too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, as you said, so many of the guys we've had on the show have inspired me. Michael Schlitz is definitely a guy that inspires me, who I've met. If there's one who stands out to me, we've never had on this show, but I did get to interview that I would say was a major inspiration for me, was First Lieutenant Michael Behenna. I mean, I heard about his story, believe it or not, listening to Michael Savage's show when he was imprisoned for, shooting at a terrorist in self-defense. And it was basically his word against the other guy. And he was imprisoned for it in Fort Leavenworth. And to be honest, Michael Savage was like the only radio host I heard talk about this story. No one else seemed to. So when I was producing David Webb's show, I was like, I want to get more attention to this story. I feel like no one's talking about it.
Why don't we have him on? How can we have him on?
We definitely could reach out. So yeah, I mean, he's free now. That's what I was going to get to. But I got to speaking with Vicky Behenna, his mother, while Michael was imprisoned. And she was on David Webb's show when I produced that, and I set that whole thing up. And then I did get to speak to Michael Behenna when he was eventually free. In a sense, the sentence was commuted under Trump. I don't think he was fully pardoned. I'd have to look at all that again. But the thing that was interesting to me, so I walked around every day with the wristband with Michael Behenna's name on it. And it was just an inspiration to me that, like, no matter how bad things feel right now, no matter what you're going through, like, there's a guy right now in prison for sitting there for doing what he felt was the right thing to do in a split second decision. So when I met Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and I was actually walking out the door, he said to me, he was like, "Oh, I like your wristband." And he showed me he had the exact same wristband on. And I was like, that's pretty cool that, like, he's another guy fighting for this guy who really got pretty much no media attention.
He did
very little.
Yeah.
Michael Savage was the only guy I heard talk about it.
I wonder why Savage was the only one, because he's in that conservative kind of podcast speaking.
He is, but the thing about Savage I've always liked, and people might like him or not. I mean, he is, and I can say this, right? He's like an old Jewish curmudgeon guy, but he's not like Sean Hannity or Mark Levin, in that he's not a cheerleader for the Republican Party. He's very independent. Whether you like Trump or not, he was for Trump when most people in the media were saying, "Oh, this guy's a joke." Like, he was like, "No, I support him." And I'm not a Trump guy, but I like his independence. And then also the fact that, like, I remember Michael Savage had on Chuck Schumer, and he was like, he didn't have him on to yell at him. He had him on because they agreed on this Dubai ports deal where Dubai was buying out ports. And he was like, yeah, this is not good. And I'll speak with a Democrat who feels the same way. Sure. I always respected that about him. But yeah, he was like the only guy. And truly, Michael Behenna, I think, is the only military guy I've ever interviewed where I asked him, do you regret joining the military, after all you've been through? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Never should have joined. And most guys, I feel like, will say, like, even what I went through, no matter how bad it was, I still am glad that I joined. He was the one guy who said, no, I shouldn't have joined. And I fully understand that.
That's how could you not? You did your job, and they put you in prison. That would be hard. I think any of us, I don't think there's not one. If there is, I think they're full of shit. But any veteran that would have gone through the same thing he did would not have felt that same way. Be like, I fucked up. What did I do this for? Maybe down the line he'll change his mind, just as things, as time heals all wounds, sort of thing, or maybe not. But I don't fault him for thinking that way. I mean, I have my own feelings about the government, not necessarily the military, but just the U.S. government in general, that I didn't think that when I first joined. There's a lot of things where I don't, the trust, should I have been with the CIA, right? All this other stuff where it has changed. I'm not going to get into it too much now. Maybe one of these days we'll talk about it. But what I'm saying is that I do get those feelings changed, because when you see behind the curtain, the something bigger that you joined for, that something bigger is gone. And with Mike's case, there was something bigger he joined for, but he obviously saw behind the curtain more than any of us and said, fuck, that's gone now. And I don't blame him for that. I have no problem. I mean, I got no argument to him for that. I'm not going to agree with him. That's not my feelings. I'm glad I joined the military, but I didn't go through he did. And I got screwed over a little bit, but I didn't go to prison. And it's just, and I'm a different person. He's a different person. I respect what he's saying, because can you imagine? That's just shit. I'm doing my job and you're throwing me in jail. Are you fucking
It was for
kidding?
Years. I'd have to look at how many years. I mean, it was quite a few years there that he was in jail. It might have been like 5+ more, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was during Bush, and then I think it wasn't until, I don't know. It may be way more than that. I'd have to look, but I have no idea what he's up to now. I still have his mother's number, I'm sure. So once he got free and I got to interview him, I was like, all right, cool. This is a happy ending. But yeah, I'd like to interview him again. Maybe we could.
If he wants to, and I'd love to talk to see how how did he get through it, and is there anything he can help if some people are going through stuff right now? So yeah, I don't want to get into it and say, hey, we'll get in the story, the backstory for those that don't know it, of course. But Mike, we wouldn't hammer that. This is where, hey, how'd you get through it? What can you learn from this? What can you teach people from this? And essentially, that's what a public speaker, as a motivational speaker, is just lessons learned. And I'd love to have him on here, get his take on lessons learned and how he's got through it and how he's moved on with his life. And I think that would help a ton of people that listen to the show.
Yeah, and like I said, I truly don't know, because when I had him on, it was like right after the pardon, so or whatever, was commuting of the sentence. So I don't know what he's doing now. I have no clue. And I'll definitely reach out. It's a good idea. But yeah, that question from you, Karen, definitely brought that back to my memory. When you say who inspires you, I'd say he inspired. I never met him in person, but he inspired me. All right, this one is from Steve Sanders. Hey guys, quick question for Ian. If you could go back and enlist in the military, which branch and MOS would you choose and why? And then he says here, and don't say Army Rangers just to make me happy.
Steve Sanders, I know that name. I know he is an E3, my firearms website.
Oh, nice.
E3. Yeah, that's Sandman. Steve Sanders. He's from the E3 firearms site. So hey, man. So I'm glad he heard about the podcast probably through the firearms
That's
site.
cool.
So, hey, yeah, awesome. Okay, yeah, get in the question.
E3firearms.com, right?
E3firearms.com. Yeah. Hey, Sandman, what's up, buddy? Great. He's a great member over there. But anyway, get the question.
I've been asked this type of thing before, like, oh, do you regret not joining the military? And like, I've thought about it before, but I never like to really talk about that on the podcast because of the fact that, I mean, the way I would put it is like, because I've heard people, we've even had people on the podcast, oh, I thought of joining, but I didn't join. Like, who even cares? Because if you didn't join, you didn't join. To me, it's like, to even talk about it, it's like the ultimate participation trophy, because not only you didn't even participate, you thought of joining, which is nothing. And I would say the reason I never joined is because with my whole radio career, there was always like something. Anytime I was like, this is going nowhere, something else would come along where it's like, all right, I'm on the right path here. And then it happened a lot, because I could say, like, my first year of college, I went to Temple University, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm going to go back home. Maybe I'll join the military. But then I went to Hofstra University, which had a great radio program. And I was like, all right, I'm actually here for something I want to do. And it was like a real radio station. I mean, my friend Steve Rubino, who does his own podcast, he does the Be Afraid horror podcast. But yeah, he had a podcast at his own college. But dude, so I remember visiting him at college, and I was like, oh cool, let me turn on the radio station as we're driving out there. And he's like, no, it only broadcasts to like this room, the Ramada Center. It's like, how is that a radio station? The college radio station I went to at WRHU, like, they broadcast the Islander games. Like, it's a big deal. So, that came along. And then from there, I went to Fangoria Radio on Sirius XM. That's where I met Dee Snider, Debbie Rashan, who did the intro for us, which is awesome.
Awesome.
And then it's like, when that kind of got stale, I'm like, all right, where is this going? Then it led to a full-time job at Sirius XM. Then that led to SoftRep. Then, so everything always led to something else. And that's why I never actually did the thing and actually joined. And I'm not one of these people who says, oh, I regret not joining, because I ended up doing something else. I don't know why. There's no point in dwelling on what you didn't do.
That bullet's downrange. You can't take it back. I always say that, man. You can't take it back. So why worry about it? Hey, let's continue to drive on. And it's got to be your calling. And if it's not your calling, you knew what your calling was, and that wasn't it. So buddy. So I guess I remember there was one time I was thinking of joining, and I spoke to my grandpa about it. And my grandpa was at the time when he was there during the World War II era, and he wasn't in World War II, but he was in World War II era, I should specify. He was in what was at the time the Army Air Corps, because as you guys probably know, it went from Army Air Corps to Army Air Forces to the Air Force.
So I remember saying I was thinking of joining the Navy to my grandpa because I had a friend who joined the Navy. And I just remember because my grandpa was always like funny like this. He was like, "You should join the Air Force." Like, and I was like, "Why?" He's like, better uniforms. He was like, well, and he was always into like how he was dressed and stuff. He was like, the uniform is cooler. So, but it just never happened. So I guess because my grandpa was Army Air Corps, maybe Air Force, but I would never, I fucking hate like getting in planes and all that stuff. So I wouldn't I wouldn't want to do any of that stuff. Not the way you do. Like, I don't mind getting in a plane to fly somewhere, but the idea of getting in a plane that's doing like flips and all this, that
Yeah,
I would just be puking. I have no interest in that. My swimming is terrible. So definitely not, Navy SEALs or anything like that. So, I mean, I think I'd want to stay on the ground doing something. So. Yeah,
when people say, "Man, I wish I would join," I always tell them, "But there's a reason you didn't. Don't feel like you needed to. You didn't miss a thing. You went your path. That's where you needed to go. And there could have been a bullet with your name on it, and that's quite a possibility too. I think I'm agreeing with you, but I don't think anybody should have any regrets if they didn't join the military. That wasn't where you needed to be, and if you would have joined, that wouldn't have been where you needed to be. You wouldn't have fit in with like a square peg in a round hole. Be happy where God put you, because that's where you needed to be, and focus on being that best person in that lane that you're in, because that's where God wants you, man. So I agree. And you're tremendous at what you do. So obviously it was, you probably would have been working like at AFN radio, and they would have put you in some base in Antarctica trying to get the signals to get where they need to be at all day. So you went where you needed to be. But Sandman asks the tough questions. I get him on live calls every once in a while with E3. We do live calls.
Yeah.
And yeah, he doesn't mess around. He don't play around. He'll fucking ask a straight up personal question, but that's what we love. That's why these calls are awesome. So
yeah, I think it's important to focus on right now. And then also I think, and look, I'm not saying this to boast because I haven't really done a whole lot of it recently, but there are other ways you could serve than being in the military. I mean, I haven't really done anything of service in the past couple of years. It's been a while, and it's something I should do for sure. But I mean, you could be a volunteer firefighter. You could donate your time for some of these natural disasters going on. There's so many things you could do. You don't have to be a military member to help people in a time of need.
Just being a good person. You know what's good? When I go out, somebody smiles at me. How often do you see that anymore? That's helping somebody. I remember going into Walmart and I felt like shit, and the person smiled at me and said hi. Not the Walmart greeter, somebody in there.
I feel like where you live, though, that's kind of common. I like New York, not so much. But when I travel, like when I went to South Dakota, everyone was super friendly.
Well, they're super friendly. But that being said, don't use those stereotypes, because actually in California, I didn't get into that too much. California, guys, you really need to fix that homeless problem. It's bad. It's really bad. But the people were so nice. I don't know, the left, right way crap. Everybody was so damn nice to me. I loved it. And I got to visit Ron's. I got to visit Ron's grave out there too, which was, man, that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But just being a nice, we can talk about that. Just being a nice person, just smiling and saying hi, or just opening a door for somebody. How often is that? That is helping somebody. That's serving. It doesn't have to be paramilitary or military. Man, just being a good person. I think that's serving in itself, because you don't see that much nowadays. And that's something that would be that something is unexpected, and you never know whose day you're going to make just by smiling. And it's helped me, so I know it works. So
yeah, no, I mean, I was with my friend George the other day. He bought someone's, they were waiting in line at Starbucks for something. I don't know if it was coffee or anything. And, he just ended up picking up the tab for them. And you could tell
that's cool.
It really made their day. So there's always stuff you could do like that. Your California thing reminded me of something I saw on Instagram that definitely made me laugh. It was from a podcast, but I don't know which. So I'd give credit if I knew. It just kind of came across my feed. But it was this girl talking about the difference between like the West Coast and the East Coast and New York and California. And what she said was, she was like, in New York and the East Coast, they're kind, but they're not nice. And she was like, or no, they're nice, but they're not kind. And then in Los Angeles, they're kind, but they're not nice. But the example that she gave that I thought was really true, that I've kind of seen, she was saying in Los Angeles or the West Coast, if you get a flat tire, they're gonna, someone's gonna go by and they're going to go, oh, I feel so sorry that happened for you. I really hope your day gets better. But you're stuck there with the flat tire. Like, no one helps you out. And then she's like, but in New York, if you get a flat tire, they'll stop and they'll be like, what do you get, a flat tire? You're a fucking idiot. You're not even putting the fucking donut on right. And she's like, but they'll actually help you.
They'll help you. That's so smart. I don't even live on the coast, and I've been there enough times that is so spot on. That is so right. You are so right on that. New York, it would be, but I knew you were going with that too. As soon as you said, it's like, yeah, he's gonna say the East Coasters like, you're a fucking idiot. Here, let me do this the right way. We'll fix it for you. But dude, you're so spot on that, man. I got to hold on to that. I've never thought of it that way, but it's whoever
I didn't
it was,
either. That's why it stood out to me.
Yeah, whoever it was, fucking 110% right there. That was awesome. So correct.
Yeah, I like that. So all right, this is from a regular. This is from Robin, who I know you go way back.
Yeah,
with.
Robin's awesome.
I will be honest. This is as you can see, a very long email.
She got a lot of time. Robin, find some other things to do. Send us questions, but you got too much time on your hands, Robin. I know she's laughing, probably flipping.
I do appreciate it though. So yeah, I'm gonna read what's highlighted here because, like I said, it's long, but I do want to get to her first point here. And she's a very loyal listener for sure. Yep. So good afternoon, KP and Ian. KP, hope you are on the mend from your surgery and recovery is going well, as we spoke about. Yeah. It's funny that you love long distance running. When we were sprinters in track many moons ago.
Hated it when we were in sprint. I hated long distance running. Yep.
Wanted to get your thoughts on the new national monument that's designated here in Colorado's 10th Mountain Division Continental Divide National Monument, which is actually what is left of Camp Hale and includes the 10-mile range. This new monument is also close to my birthplace of Leadville, Colorado.
Colorado. Yep, Leadville, nice. Colorado. Beautiful
and she
place.
She says, my grandfather also worked at Camp Hale at one point. And then she gives kind of the backstory of Camp Hale and the 10th Mountain Division. So
search that, guys. Have guys search that. It is a good story, but we don't have time. But
yeah, I just figured she'd want to hear your thoughts on that monument.
I think any monuments, any veterans monument, we need to have more of them out there. People, it ebb and flows in society nowadays of whether veterans are immortalized and I use that word, and I think veterans should be immortalized. Veterans, they sacrifice, and just not dying does not mean you sacrifice. So believe me, you sacrifice when you're gone. Even if you don't deploy overseas, you're still gone a lot from 5 a.m. to whenever you get home at night. If you're just going to bases and you're still gone all the time. And family comes second, and the families sacrifice. My wife has sacrificed tons for me being so. I love that there being new monuments, and there should be more monuments out there. And if you desecrate those monuments, you should have your balls cut off and strung up by it. That's literally those people that have served gave when they signed on the dotted line. They started serving. They were giving time. They're sacrificing their family, sacrificing their lifestyle, because your lifestyle, of course, changes. And I think more of them should be out there. So I think that's awesome. They're at the Continental Divide, and I think that's beautiful. So yeah, tremendous. I'm glad they have it. 10th Mountain is a great unit, just a historically fantastic unit with some of the greatest soldiers ever to serve in the U.S. Army. So yeah, tremendous, man.
That really is, yeah. That sounds like a great monument. Appreciate you reaching out with that. This is from another regular. This is from Michael Moore, who writes to us a lot. Not that Michael Moore. It would be funny if that Michael.
That would be kind of cool if he was a fan of ours. But yeah, I don't see that happening ever.
No, me neither. And you know what? Like, regardless of politics, I'll say this: he is a great filmmaker. Like, he does a good job. Like, I think if you watch Roger and Me or Fahrenheit 9/11, not so much the healthcare stuff, but like some of the earlier stuff, I thought was very well done.
He does it people get out of politics. Go ahead, buddy. We'll spend an hour talking about that. It would be
funny if it was that Michael Moore reaching out. So, all right, Chris, I know you don't like getting into politics. However, I will say, just before I even read this email, when we say getting into politics, I think it's like getting into stuff that's irrelevant to what we talk about. Like, we're not going to do a show about abortion or something because it has nothing to do with the military. But this is a gun measure, so I think
that's not that's not political. To me, the two-way talking about the Constitution, that's the Constitution. Maybe we should have a show. Maybe that's what we do on Patreon. We actually talk, and here's our different. This is what politics are. This is what it's not political, but politics has encompassed everything and basically destroyed and divided everybody. But yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah,
okay.
No, so I think this is appropriate, and it is totally what we get into. But you might know more about it than me because I don't. He says he would like you to expand on Oregon's Prop 114 anti-gun measure. Your comment would be much appreciated. I don't know anything about this. Do you?
Oh no, I don't.
You want to Google it? We'll see.
Yeah, let's Google. I'm Googling it too, man. Sorry, buddy. I am unprepared. Ranger Battalion. I'll do push-ups for you later, and I'll get one for the Airborne Ranger in the Sky when we're done with the show. I owe you, man.
All right. So here's what I'm seeing. It says Measure 114 will end a loophole in federal law that allows firearm dealers to sell guns without a background check if it's not completed within 3 business days. It also will require anyone who buys a gun in Oregon to pass a firearm safety training and bans the sale of bullet magazines that hold over 10 rounds.
Okay, so permit requires photo. I don't have a problem with background checks. Background checks need to be done, period. So the Prop 14, if you vote no, they're going to say, tell me, I guess I'm just not following. I'm not following it, man. Help me out.
No, the other parts, because it seems like though I agree with you, the background checks, but then it says it will also require anyone who buys a gun in Oregon to pass firearm safety training and ban the sale of bullet magazines that hold over 10 rounds.
All right, the bullet magazines is ridiculous. That's just that is to me and that's somebody that doesn't shoot guns, doesn't know anything about guns. Making less bullets in a gun, that's not going to help anything, guys. The background checks, yes. Having a firearm safety course, oh, definitely. I mean,
you think it should be required though?
I think it should now. I really do. And as a kid, I think a hunter safety course should check that box on that requirement, as I did as a kid. I wasn't allowed to. My father wouldn't let me have a firearm until I took a hunter safety course, which is basically a firearm safety course, and it was for children. It was for teenagers.
But people might say that's your father. That's not the government. You know.
Well, you know what, bro? I love, that's why I love having you on the show, because you make me think, and I love that. No, I do. If they did it and they made that requirement, I'm not big. Let me tell you this way. It needs to be done. You should, as a good, responsible parent, you should take your kids. If you want to get into firearms, you should have your kids go through some sort of safety course. If you're going to own a firearm, and you're a responsible adult, you should go through a safety course as well. You should. But you're right. Having the government come in and say, yeah, you need to do, I'm with you there, brother. I don't think the government needs to get involved in any of that shit. I stay the fuck. You guys can't even figure your own shit out. Go fix it.
And the only thing I do wonder about with that too is if it's a state law, right? Let's say you suddenly move to Oregon and you want to buy a gun in Oregon. Are they going to make you take a whole new firearm safety course?
And that's where I would need to read. We're just getting the big white and black areas right now. We're not seeing the fine print. So maybe there's something in there that says, this can be superseded if you have a DD-214 from the U.S. Army or the military. It says that you have served. So obviously you've done a firearms course or two, whether you're infantry or not, you're going to learn how to shoot regardless of what branch or what MOS or what job you have. So, with only knowing just the main parts of it, I don't like the government to get involved with anything. I leave it alone. But should you have a safety course before you buy a firearm? Yes. And you should be responsible. And as a 2A supporter, Second Amendment supporter, and part of the 2A community, I think, you guys, if you don't go and get your safety certification or get something before you buy a gun, then you are not a responsible 2A member. So let me shame you there. If you're in the 2A community and you support it, but you don't believe that you need to get a safety course before you get a firearm, then to me, you're not a responsible Second Amendment follower, community member of that. You don't really support the Second Amendment. You just want to buy a gun. Background checks are necessary, period. You got to have them. You can't just, that if you don't have them, anybody on the street can go buy a gun. And I don't believe in that. I think there's people that don't need to have guns based off what they've done in the past or what their current mental state is on, or even guys, hard drugs, even if they're prescription, do affect your psyche and your ability to process and think clearly sometimes. So I think there are things there, but background checks to me, I think they're always necessary. And
I will I was just going to say, I will counterpoint. I don't disagree.
No,
with
go
you.
ahead,
You
go
know
ahead,
me,
Brad.
I
That's
try
fine.
to always think of the other arguments. And the one thing I will counterpoint that I do hear people make is like that no-fly list, how we've seen that there's like a 5-year-old kid who somehow winds up on the no-fly list. And then what if you wind up on this background check, you've done nothing wrong, but somehow you're on some database.
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up with that, I think.
Well,
too.
it does. Government gets involved, they screw up everything. I think there already is background checks. I don't know a gun store that doesn't have a background
For
check.
sure.
I've never been in one, so I think that's already there.
I think people worry about the national and then also I think people worry about like, okay, what if you say to a psychiatrist, I get angry sometimes, I want to lash out, and they're, they take it too far and they're like, this guy's a threat, So I do think people have to, it's a fine line with a lot of that stuff.
Well, I think you are on the same agreement. I don't think there needs to be a federal government national registry. No.
Yeah.
Let's just be good, responsible adults. Let's do that now. Okay, guys. And if you own a gun shop, which I have a lot of buddies that do, they all do gun background. Even me, when I have to go pick up a gun that's shipped to me through an FFL, I still have to fill out paperwork to say I received that gun. And before that, I had to fill out the paperwork to say that I was legally allowed to own a gun. And I've been shooting guns for how long? But I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. But that's the gun shop that does that. And of course, I think they have to file it with the state. But having a national registry, I'm with you, brother. No, federal government screws everything up. No, hell no. No. And then the safety courses, yes, every person should go through a safety course before they own a gun. Do we need the government regulating that? Hell no. No, they got other problems they need to fix, like the budget, like overspending, like making sure I don't spend another extra $100 at Walmart for the same shit. Okay, I'm being facetious. It's an extra $50 for the same shit I'm buying at Walmart. They need to fix that shit and get gas prices down. They don't need to worry about the gun. Get off that, guys. But as adults, we need to be more responsible as well. And as our children come in, teaching them how to be responsible. And like my father did for me, son, you cannot own a gun until you take that hunter safety course. And that was an 8-hour course that I had to sit in when I was 12. That was boring as hell. But I did learn about guns, and it taught me the safety, and it taught me that guns are inherently dangerous at a young age and that you need to be safe with them. So I guess I'm answering your question with other questions, but I don't know. I think federal government, stick the hell out of it. But we do need those
it sounds
things.
like you like certain parts of it, but it's like many other bills where there's something good in the bill and then they roll other stuff into the bill that shouldn't be there.
That shouldn't be there. Yeah. It can never be. Let's just do that. Let's just have can we have a clean bill once? Just a clean bill. But that's never going to happen. So.
Yeah. Just one thing. I'll be honest, I feel like DeSantis in Florida has done some of that where it's just one thing and that's the bill.
I like him. I do like him.
I do. Hey, I like him, but at the same time, as you know, I don't worship any of these politicians. And there's definitely been things DeSantis has done that off air I've said to you, I think this was stupid, or you and I kind of disagreed with the military veterans.
Yeah, the teacher.
I don't totally agree with it, but overall he's been good, I think. And I don't think any politician's perfect. I do hope he gets the nomination. That's as political.
Maybe we'll do one episode. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk. No, I don't give a shit about. No, fuck that. I don't want to talk about Trump or DeSantis or anything. But on the gun issues, definitely. So be responsible. Be a responsible parent. Be a responsible adult. And gun shop owners, make sure you're doing that background checks whenever you sell a gun. It needs to be done. But as far as the government getting involved, fuck no. Stay the fuck. Government is. We have seen the government is freaking clueless in most things, and all they're doing is pushing agendas to raise money for the most part and to get themselves reelected, whether they really know what the hell the bill is or not. And so stay out of it, government. But we do need to have those things just as adults.
I would agree.
Yeah.
This was a really touching one from a regular of ours, Randy Dolly. Hi. Hello, Chris and Ian. Hope you're doing well, Ian and Chris. I am glad that you are getting better after surgery. I've been keeping up with your healing on social media and E3, so another E3 firearms.
Yeah, Randy's joining. He's a great member on that as well. Tremendous guy.
Yeah. So he says, my wife's uncle passed away in July and he had a military funeral. This was the first one that I've ever been to in person. The local VFW conducted the funeral, and for a small town, these guys did a great job. I've seen probably over 100 of these on television and online, but it is not the same as being there. Uncle Ralph was 95 and served with General Patton in World War II. Wow. I really hate that I'm not going to hear any more of his experiences during the war. This had me wondering, if a veteran passes away, is there anything in place whereby they can get a military funeral if they do not have any family to request one? I think that if it were me, I would be smiling down from heaven during that funeral. When I hear of a World War II vet passing away, I really dread the day that the last one leaves us. As always, you guys are in my thoughts and prayers. Take care, Randy Dollyeye.
Well, if there's a military listener out there, because I don't know the answer to this, I think you do have to have a request for that if you want a military funeral. But so I want to put this out for the listeners out there, any veterans. If you guys know, I don't know of the ability to do that, but there might be. As we found out in the military, and everybody that's serving in the military, there's waivers for everything in the military. So there probably is something out there, but I don't know. So for all you listeners out there, guys, if there's somebody, hit us up at the Battleline email and say, hey, this is what it is, and we'll get it out to Randy. And I know Randy's come through one of my first Battleline courses a long time ago, and Randy is one tough son of a bitch. He's an old warrior, and when he talks, he comes from the heart. So I would love to have an answer for Randy if any of you guys out there do know of one where, if you don't have family, that he could still get a military funeral. I don't know how, but like I said, there's probably a way. I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, and you would hope they would. And what really did touch me too is what he says about the World War II veterans. Yeah. I mean, I've said it before in the show, any World War II veteran I've had the chance to either meet or interview, any Holocaust survivor. I've gotten to meet a number of Holocaust survivors in my life. Like, I really do cherish that, man, because your kids, like your youngest, I mean, if he hasn't met them yet, he might not meet any of those guys possibly when he's old enough to really get something out of it. So, I mean, there's guys I've interviewed who were there at Pearl Harbor, and then a year later we hear they're no longer with us. So yeah, I really cherish meeting those guys, and it's just not a whole lot of them left. So,
no,
I mean, if any World War II veteran ever wants to come on the podcast, you truly are front of the line, because definitely I don't want to miss that opportunity.
I think any World War II, Korean War, which we forget about, and those guys were hard as shit. So I can't imagine fighting in that cold against odds that were insurmountable, and they still managed to win a lot of those battles and lost a lot of guys. And then also Vietnam veterans. Guys, hit us up at the email if you want to come on the show, and we'll get you on. But World War II especially, because
World War II especially, I'll say,
especially, yeah, because you're right. There's a lot. There's not many of them left, and that. I do honestly believe that was the greatest generation. We could all learn, generations after theirs could all learn how to be great by that generation. And those guys, their stories are unbelievable. It makes me feel, and you can't see us on video, but I'm doing with my fingers. I feel like an inch tall when I talk to those guys, because those fuckers were warriors. They were badasses, just tremendous, and so patriotic. They really just love this country more than anything.
So speaking of, recent military deaths, I should probably bring this up because this was pretty crazy. So, as you know, I do other podcasts that I write for, one of those being Obscurities that Debbie does.
Good podcast.
I love doing it too. I write pretty much all of those. Just about all of them are written by me. I'll get some of them from watching like old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. So I watched, and I'm going somewhere with this. I watched an Unsolved Mysteries about in the Hudson River Valley area of New York, a major UFO sighting where like there were hundreds of people, and then it calculated to thousands throughout that year who saw these UFOs. So I watched the episode, and there was this guy named Dennis Sant, and I was like, let me try to reach out to this guy. He's, really interesting story about like a UFO landing in his backyard. Seems like he does not seem like the crazy guy who's just like a wacko making up a story. And he's like, yeah, there were people yelling at me on the highway, like, get back in your house. He's like, I wanted to stay out there. I wanted to see it. My kids ran back in the house. So I interviewed him for Obscurities, and I found out he was a veteran, and really, really smart guy, really like full of life, about 75, because this episode of Unsolved Mysteries from the late 80s. And after I interviewed him, I said, man, I would love to have you on Battleline Podcast at some time. Because I was like, you and I think love to talk about stuff like that, extraterrestrial, and the fact that he's a veteran. I was like, that would be a cool story. So when I was booking, I think it was this month, I was like, let me see if I could get Dennis Sant back on. And I don't remember why I was Googling him, because I was Googling him because I wanted to find out what branch of service and all that, for if we had him on, because I have his phone number. And sure enough, man, I just pulled it up. I came across this article that in, I guess it was, in September, Dennis Sant died. And I probably did the last interview with him, which was crazy, man. This guy was on Laura Ingraham. He was on Unsolved Mysteries. And I would have never thought this guy would have passed away. I actually just came across, because I Googled it right now. Dennis J. Sant, 75, the former Putnam County clerk, died August 26th in Carmel. He was a longtime resident of Brewster. And then let me see. I mean, it says here, you know, that he became a Christian in 1977. And he was stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama with the U.S. Air Force, served from 1968 to 72. But man, I never would have thought this. I thought this guy, even though 75, it's a little bit up there, he seemed totally lively, so energetic. I was like, he'd be a great guest. So man, when I get to interview these guys and for the last time, it's kind of an honor that I got their story out there. So,
and that's too bad. I would have liked to have him on too, man. Did he have any family or anything, or was he?
Yeah, he was with his wife. I remember when I tried to connect with him, and you know, his wife's yelling at him like, you know, I don't hear anything, and that type of thing. Yeah, so he was remarried because his wife prior to the UFO encounter had passed away, so he was remarried. And he was telling me he got, and these pictures of it. So no bullshit. He got to meet the Pope. He got to meet the Dalai Lama. And he said to me, like, it's actually the last thing he said during the interview, is he said, I used to like go out at night and look up at the sky with my father. And he would say, with all the stars in the universe and all the planets, do you really think we're the only life out there?
Yeah.
There has to be more.
There has to be more. I agree.
Yeah, he was like, that's what probably got me thinking and more open to the possibilities of other life out there. And like I said, sometimes you listen to people who have UFO encounters and they sound a little bit crazy. Not at all with Dennis, man. And it's just the same with who am I thinking of now? Who we've had on PJ, Air Force PJ.
Oh, Scotty.
Yes, Scott Guerin.
Yeah, Scotty.
You know, like you hear about his encounter, and you're like, yeah, this is a pretty awesome guy who's had a great military career, and he doesn't seem like someone just putting out some crazy story at all. So,
yeah, well, I hope we can find other World War II veterans, because I'd love to have them on. As podcasts get out there, and you got to have the flavor of the day or flavor of the month on, or somebody that wants to scream and yell about politics all the time.
Yeah,
those guys don't get on, and they need to, because they have the best stories, in my opinion, and you learn so much from them, and I think a lot of them want to talk now where they didn't want to then. They're at a point where they want to tell their stories, and we want to hear them. So guys, if you're a World War II vet out there, hit us up. We'll get you on, because I want to hear your stories. I know Ian does too, obviously.
Oh yeah, it would be an honor. All right, I have a couple more emails here. I'm not going to lie. We got one that's like a little bit crazy. It's because any show that I've ever done, I've gotten like written, you've probably gotten it too. I've gotten written letters that I'm like, this is out there. I get emails and I'm like, what is this guy on? Do you want me to read it, or do you think?
Hey, what? That's no. Come on, man.
Because I don't even know where this guy's coming from. I mean, I appreciate you reaching out, so I'll read it. I mean, I like reading any emails we get. You may laugh at this and be like, I don't know what this is about.
No, but now you've made it bigger than what it is. So you got to read it now. Anyway.
I will. So this is Nicholas Nielsen from Denmark, which is cool that people in Denmark are listening.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
This is what he writes. I'm just going to read it verbatim. Hey, Chris, I'm sorry for keep doing this. I've been a fan of you guys for a long time now. The police knows right now that I'm doing these comments, and some of them are shitty. I know. That is because they are doing them for me. Sorry for that. He. I just want to say thank you for your help, and it is unbelievable that we have a history together. That is a little similar to each other. So similar. Sure. It is terror. They tried to do, and they do look like each other also. I also met your lookalike. You probably know that already. I have one wish. Give me a smarter IQ through your CIA stuff, and I will cry for a year by happiness. And send me into the military. It has come to me from your CIA technology. I hope you're doing good at your best, and keep doing good. Maybe I can get some more terrorists for you. We will see and find out. Thank you. I hope this was a better message. Maybe I'll contact you again 9/11. See you, Nicholas Nielsen from Denmark.
I think a lot of that's just the language barrier too, because I get letters from and emails from people that that English is their second language, and you'll see it like that. I love it. I'm like, man, that's so cool. He's even trying to get it in there, trying to get it right. I don't know what he's asking. I don't have any terrors. No more terrors. Hey, tell me, Nielsen, what's his first name again?
Nicholas Nielsen.
Nicholas, hey buddy, I'm done with the terrorist stuff, dude. You keep them. I don't want none more terrorist stuff. And as far as the police, Denmark, I don't know. Is Denmark not that crazy? That's not that crazy of a country. It's a pretty safe area.
I think so.
Yeah. If I'm right. So whatever you're doing, yeah, keep doing it, but don't want your terrorists, buddy. You keep those. And as far as the police go in Denmark, if you're doing something wrong, yeah, they'll come get you. So just live right, my friend. Be right. And I love the letter. I love those sort of letters. Even though they're kind of hard to decipher or interpret. To me, it's still it's cool that people, like you said, from outside the U.S. have that feeling for the show, or even Tonto, even myself, that they'd be willing to write and put that out there for the world to see, and me especially. So yeah, I wish we had video because you can see me smiling. I love those things. I don't know what the hell he's talking about all the way, but Nicholas, why don't you write another one, get it to us, and if you can expound or explain a little bit of what you're talking about. But if the terrorist goes, if we both fought terrorists and we both served, then congratulations on your service, brother. Great job fighting terrorists. But that ship has sailed for me, buddy. I'm not doing that crap anymore. In fact, I'm just being home. The only thing I'm fighting now is my little boy trying to get him to bed. That's about it. And that's good enough for me. But yeah, that's cool, dude. I love that. I think that's awesome. Tremendous.
All right. Well, I'll get to this last one. And I saw this is from, older guys. So I thought that was cool that we have listeners from, every demographic. This is from Malcolm Butch Haugen. Hopefully I'm saying the last name right, or Hogan. I've seen the ups and downs of many of us after our time in service. I thought this would be a great idea for a cast. Just a thought. Thanks for the quick reply. Best wishes. So, I think that's been an ongoing theme with the podcast, the ups and downs of service. I think if you listen back to the Mike Schlitz episode, as we mentioned, you listen back to the Matt Waters episode. I think there's been plenty of, Rudy Reyes spoke a lot about that. So it's definitely something we've never had an episode just about that, but we've covered it quite a lot.
Well, that's where people can learn from the service, because that's what. So when you sign up, you're an up and down. That's why I said at the beginning with Robin's letter, I think there should be tons of monuments for veterans out there, because when you sign up, you serve, and there's an up and down. Going into the service, when you get in there the first time, it's a culture shock right off the bat, and it's intended to be that way. You are actually sitting there, whether you're sitting there when I was at Fort Benning at 30th AG, waiting to go to my training battalion, you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, what did I get myself into? Because you're like, that can be considered an up or a down, but it's either way, the stress levels are going out of this world, because you're thinking, I'm thinking, did I make a mistake? I left the comforts of civilian life to join the military, and now I'm like, oh crap, and I can't get out of it. There's no way you're getting out of it. So I think, again, war itself, yes, there are tremendous, you're tested in war. There are ups and downs during combat all the time. There are ups and downs during deployments all the time, because you're gone from home, or you see a friend die, or you see a civilian die, or you save a civilian, or you see a little Afghani girl going to school for the first time because the Taliban's not in power anymore, which was pretty awesome to see. But that being said, just joining the military is an up and down, because regardless of how you feel, you're getting your butt up at 5 a.m. You ain't calling in sick. And that is hard, even just when you're sick and you have the flu and you still got to get up and go train. That is an up and down. And I know people can relate to that, because, when you're sick and going to work and you don't want to be there, you still have to go because it's your job. And I think that's where we can learn from military personnel, because you can call in sick. You can, a lot of times in civilian, we're in the military, you can't. And learning how to power through that just to get through a day, because you feel like shit, or your girlfriend just broke up with you, or you're going through a divorce and you still got to show up and train. People can learn from that, because that's what everybody goes through. And that's why I love having military guys on, because military does show you how to get through those things, because we're forced to get through them. Eventually you become accustomed and you're able to do it, but initially you're forced to have to overcome that adversity. You don't have a choice. I would think
even if a guy dies in training, like
a guy dies in training, there's none. You got to keep training. Yeah, you have to. You have to. The requirement is, because the machine keeps rolling. You got to keep getting through it. And you can learn from that. And we take it to the extremes with death but it doesn't have to be that extreme. Again, it can just be, holy fuck, I have a temperature of 105. Well, guess what? You're going to do PT in the morning, get your ass there. That is overcoming adversity. And that is something everybody can relate to: sickness or adversity in life. Or, that's why I love the movie when we made 13 Hours, where Jack's talking to his wife about taking the tree down and how much it's going to cost. That's a stressor that everybody can deal with. And that stressors went on overseas as well. We still have to deal with those things overseas. That's adversity. But people can relate to that because that happens in everyday life. And how did you overcome it? I think Jack played it just right. I mean, that what he said, and he did say this, is, hey, don't worry about it. Well, I'll take it down myself when I get home. I remember him having the conversations with his wife. That wasn't movie scripting. That actually happened. And that shows adversity right there. Hey, don't worry about it. We got bigger things to worry about right now. Just let me get home. We'll handle it. Just be patient, and we'll deal with it when I get home, and I'll take it down myself. Everybody can learn from that. Not just a buddy dying and having to fight through it, just fighting through daily stressors in life that we all go through. And the veterans, every veteran out there that we've had on, and every veteran that has served, has gone through some type of adversity like that. Doesn't have to be sexy.
Adversity, you should say.
Did I say adverse? What did I say?
Diversity.
Adversity. Sorry, I know. I'm me and my wokeness, and I'm but gone through that adversity at some point in their career, and have gone through it a lot, and can teach. And I'm saying this as civilians, I'm not saying as a derogatory term, can teach civilians or those that haven't served just how to get through every day in life, because we were forced to get to those things. And we did, and every one of us did, and every one of us moved on and continued on with our service and continued on with our job. So yeah, I love that comment. I just want to make sure, put it in perspective or make it relatable. It doesn't have to be somebody dying in combat that you have to fight through. It's just every day adversity strikes, and in the military, you're forced to get through it because you don't have a choice. But eventually you're able just to handle anything in life, and from taking down a tree to paying rent to just being gone and missing another Halloween or missing another Christmas or missing another birthday. And people can relate to that because that's what goes on in everybody's life. And yeah. I think that's important to recognize as well.
I remember you even saying, I think it was in our movie episode, you may have said it. I think you said it in our episode with Debbie too, when you were saying in the movie, The Hurt Locker. You said like you'd mixed thoughts about the movie itself, but and I don't even think I've seen the movie, but yeah, you were saying coming home and just like going to a Walmart.
Yeah,
that was an up and a down experience.
It was, because the Hurt Locker, yeah, the tactical portions, and I thought they played it. The guys played. I think Jeremy Renner or whoever is that who was the, but the movie, it didn't really. But when he got home at the end of it, and he's having to pick cereal and seeing the importance of cornflakes or Frosted Flakes.
Yep, I remember.
I do remember coming home and going to the store and be like, "Who gives a fuck? Why is this so important?" But
and I think I've heard people say. I mean, obviously, I think this audience knows I'm not a veteran or combat veteran, but I think I've heard people even say like being in that setting with like the fluorescent lights and the aisles and everything, and just it's like overwhelming, right?
Because it's not chaotic. It's not. But it's still stressful because you're still trying to adjust and reacclimate back to just being normal where you haven't felt normal in a while. And that is something that takes time. That's why people have what we call demobilization. That's military. They've learned that when they come home, they aren't allowed to actually go home and just be home for 30 days because they have to demob. They have to bring themselves down. And that is a testament to veterans that come back, just going to the store and just trying to figure out the importance of just living normally. But as I've got out, that is extremely important. And in fact, that's huge in having a good family and stable life at home, is that you realize that, hey man, nothing is life or death. It is important. My kids don't like Frosted Flakes. They like cornflakes. I got to pick the cornflakes or I'm going to have problems at home. And you're still making decisions. But I do remember that. And the feeling of boredom when you come home, like, man, I'm bored. Now, again, I don't feel bored at home anymore because this is where I want to be. And that was a struggle at first, but the Hurt Locker, if you don't watch any part of the Hurt Locker and watch the end of it, because that to me is probably the most realistic of the whole movie. Now, I was an EOD guy. You guys can talk about the EOD stuff. But to me, that movie in itself, the end of it was spot on, because I went through those same things early on in my career until I was able to figure it out. And then I enjoyed, actually, that's what I would do. I said on a show before, I go to Target and walk around just to reacclimate to the normalcy and the wonderfulness of being in this great country, that the shelves are full. Nobody's trying to blow me up. The music's going, the lighting's good. Lightings aren't flickering everywhere. And everybody's just, whether they're smiling or not, I'm in America. And I admired that after. But yeah, bro, I remember that's a great scene, that movie. I really can go back to the first couple of years of my career going overseas and be like, man, I really relate to that. And then having your 1-year-old, that, holy shit. I know I'm going long here. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's good.
But yeah, I had just had my 1-year-old, and he just is born, and I'm picking up Christian, my boy, and I actually did a post. I didn't mean to do that. I wasn't planned this way, but I did that post just recently on Instagram where it was me bringing him home and looking at him and going, man, I love this, but that pull of, I really want to go back. But it's almost, it's that feeling of, should I be feeling this way? I don't know if I should be feeling this way, because I just had my son. It's my first son. And
this is supposed to be the most significant moment in your life.
And I'm like, it's awesome, but gosh, I really want to get back to Baghdad. And that actually, in the Hurt Locker, you see that when he's playing with his son and being like, I love you. Basically, I love you, but I love this more and I got to go. And then it cuts after the movie. After you see him playing with his son, it cuts and it shows him back in Iraq walking to go disfuse a bomb. Then the movie ends. And I get that. I totally, and a lot of veterans out there totally get that. And now it's been completely, you couldn't drag my ass overseas anymore. Like, fuck no, I'm staying home. I want to be here. But that point in time, it was, and that makes you have feelings of guilt too. It really does. And we'll always fight that. But again, that's adversity. Everybody feels guilt. How do we get through it? Just live the best day you can the next day, and don't try to forget it. Embrace it. I had that. That was an experience. It was a feeling that I felt, and I'm not going to regret it for the rest of my life. It just is what it is. And I did have a wonderful experience in Iraq. I got to experience that. But now, where am I at now? Now I'm with my 7-year-old and my son that's gotten older. Christian is wonderful, tremendous. My daughter, who hit the winning 3-pointer just yesterday when I watched her game.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a tremendous athlete. But now I'm actually at a point where I can put that away and I can embrace just being home and being a father, which if I still had that regret of missing that 1-year-old, wanting to be in Iraq and not wanting to be home, I don't think I'd be able to enjoy the time I have now with my kids. So, I know I'm all over the place, but that's
no, I think it's great. I think people appreciate hearing that. I didn't want to interrupt you because I think all of that's important, but actually when you were saying coming back and how things aren't life or death, I definitely learned something from you in terms of that. And I actually was telling my friend George this, who's going through a lot right now, how when I'll always remember this, we recorded an episode. I'm not going to say who. In my opinion, like the interview it wasn't the best. It was all right. It was one of the earlier ones. And then you and I thought had this really great conversation like we are now, just like an hour after, talking about other interesting things. And that's all sporadic. We were just talking about things going on in the world and probably things that are important to you. This is when we were recording in studio. You remember this. And I looked at the engineer and I was like, all right, we're good to go. You could hit stop. And she goes, wait, you wanted me to record all that stuff after the interview? Now, I feel like if I worked with anyone in radio, whether it was Will Cow or David Webb or Senator Bill Bradley or any of these people, they would have been fucking furious. Like all of them. They would have been throwing chairs and it would have been chaos. You kind of laughed it off and you were just like, it is what it is, man. We'll record something else. And that taught me that, this is not like you've been in literal life or death situations where if you don't make the right move, your buddy next to you is going to die. And a great conversation not recording, it sucks. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah, you've definitely taught me in my own life to handle things like that a little bit better. You really have. So I appreciate that from you.
Well, and you passed it on to George, which again, you're doing the same thing. We don't have to be in the military to teach lessons. It can be lessons that we learn from other people, which that's how I've lived my life. It's something that maybe I haven't gone through, but I learned from somebody else. So I'm going to pass it on to somebody else. That's how people become good people, good-hearted people. And I do remember that. Because I was like, shit, we're in studio. We can do it again. Screw it. What are we going to do? We're going to yell about it, scream about it. It's gone. The bullet's downrange. You can't take it back, man. Fuck it. Let's just try it again. But that was a damn good conversation, dude.
Yeah. I remember a similar thing happening when I worked at Sirius where something didn't record. And I remember what was almost going to be a fight breaking out between
you told
two
me about
people
that.
I worked with.
I remember that. Yeah.
And the person who was responsible for like not recording the thing, they got fired. So yeah, it's like shit could get chaotic. And I think the way you handled it is way better than how I would have handled it prior. And now since then, I'll handle things a little bit better, I think, So yeah, I think doing this show, I've learned from you, and I've learned from our guests. And the last thing before we go here, I don't know if you want to mention anything in the past 3 years that stands out to you of doing the podcast, any guest that stands out to you, because like I said, it is wild looking back, and like that picture I put up today of me and Tony Tata, General Tata, the fact that that was 3 years ago, man. We launched the show on Veterans Day of 2019, and it was like the weirdest time to launch a show too, because a few months after that COVID hit, and we're like, how are we going to record this thing? We were using studio. We originally kind of planned on you coming to New York every few months and us doing it in studio, and like that changed everything. And been a lot of memories. Well,
I still remember the photo shoot. I thought that was cool. I mean, seriously, I thought, I was like, man, I feel like the Beastie Boys out here. That
with Raph, Mr.
With Raph.
I'll tell you a funny thing about him, by the way. Well, should I just throw it out there now?
Yeah, throw it out there now.
I know Raph because he worked at Sirius XM. We both worked at Sirius XM, and he loves politics. He loves conspiracy theory. He loves Alex Jones and all that stuff. But working with DJ Who Kid, his whole job was going to clubs, and now I'm pretty sure he's a photographer for a strip club in Queens.
No way.
So you can see it on his at Mr. Dope Pick on Instagram. His pictures are all these like big booty chicks at strip clubs, and he's out there living life. And and the funny thing is, he would always say to me and Mike Binns, and no joke, this is when he was with DJ Who Kid, he was 50 Cent's DJ. He'd be like, man, I wish I was doing what you guys are doing. Like, I love talking about politics. And we're like, you're out like with 50 Cent. And he's like, yeah, but it gets kind of old after a while. Like, it's the same bullshit, So it's just so funny to me, because to me, it's like, I think to a lot of people, they see that, they're like, that's living the dream. And to him, will be like, yeah, but it gets old after a while.
It gets old after a while.
But the funny thing is, I actually said this to DJ Who Kid. I said him say, and DJ Who Kid was like, dude, don't let him fool you. Like, he has more fun than any of us. So that was the fun. He's a great photographer.
He did. That's fun. I could see him doing that. I could definitely see him. That's the time of his life. Have the time of your life when you have the time, when it's time to have the time of your life, because get it out of your system, man. And that's because these are the perfect age to do it. And he is very talented. That sticks out to me because it was just fun. And that's when New York was still it could be popping again. I haven't been back there forever.
It'll be exactly what you remember.
What I remember back
there now. Yeah.
But out of all of them, the one that I still love our first one. I loved having Andre and having him in and getting him in, and not necessarily because I'm not saying I'm even a good interviewer now, but I was terrible.
No, you are.
But the thing that stinks, what I've admired over the last 3 years is just how much better the podcast has gotten. And I can hear it from the very beginning episodes to now, and you even helped me, dude. You're like, hey man, you didn't let this guy finish his story, and he was getting good, and you cut him off. And I've actually consciously have worked on that. So to me, it's not necessarily the episode. I still love the first episode, and I love Andre Arlovsky. He's one of the nicest guys in the world. Tremendous, and of course, he's one of the tremendous UFC Hall of Famer. But that being said, screw that. If anything, he's just a nice, good guy, good father, great husband. And I love that interview too, because it was in studio. But my thing is just the progression of the podcast in itself and how it's improved. And I do believe we've improved it over the last 3 years, and it will continue to improve because I don't know. I'm very self-critical. I'm very hard on myself, and I do. I want to say, hey, how do we make it better? So Yeah, well, listening to Jack Murphy's episode in comparison to listening to Matt Waters' episode, both great Rangers, but I allowed Matt to talk where I didn't really allow Jack to talk too much, and it's just because me just not knowing it. And that's difficult. I tell you, it is difficult when you're the interviewer for 3-4 or interviewee, when you're being interviewed for 3-4 years. It is a lot different than being the interviewer. I've had to learn that, and you've helped me with that. That one still sticks out to me. I think that was Dutch. That was Chris Dutch Moyer's interview, where he was getting into the Benghazi. He was part of the Delta team, and he knew it was going as a squadron commander. And he was getting to a point, a crescendo about Benghazi, and I cut him off. And we never got to, that's true. Never got to that point. And I'm like, and to me, I was like, shit, why did I do it? Because I want to know.
And as you know, I'm critical because it says as a listener, I'll have to say to you, because it is true. I'm like, our audience has heard you talk about Benghazi for hours. They've never heard Chris Dutch Moyer.
Never heard Chris. Well, I wanted to hear that, buddy. I'm like, fuck, I want to know where you guys were. What the hell? So
I do the same thing though. There's episodes I listen back to, and I'm telling myself, shut the fuck up. Let this guy get into something, because I've done it myself for sure, and I still need to get better. And then there's episodes I listen back and I'm saying and too much, and I need to watch out for that stuff too. As you always say, that's something you always say, how there's no subject matter experts. Like, no matter how much radio I've done, I do think there's always going to be room to improve for sure. And if you listen to early Joe Rogan now, I think he's become a much better interviewer. There's the reason he's like the best paid guy in podcasting. He's great at what he does. So
he is. He's tremendous the way it is. So I one episode, I just know the episodes have gotten better over the last 3 years. And so that's what stands out to me. But if any incidents in itself, I love the first day walking through New York, he's just taking shots, and then we're standing in the middle of the street there. That to me is still an epic shot. I love that picture of me and you just standing there.
Right behind both of us. I mean, the actual Apple Podcast logo, I think, is awesome. I mean, and that's also Aaron Lauder, who's awesome. Like, I think Aaron is the best at graphics. He will always be my go-to guy. And when he sent me, I mean, the shot that Raph took, and then the filter and all that Aaron put on there, I was like, this is it, man. And he will always be the person I use for everything. When I do stuff with like Deneen and Tom, he recently did some graphics for them. So I mean, you get to work with some really awesome people. But all those shots, he's great. He's great. Shout out to Raph.
No, definitely. So guys, I just hope we can continue on and keep going. And I love that. I never thought we'd pick up sponsor. I knew we'd have one. I knew we'd have Fort Scott. But to continue to have Fort Scott Munitions, but then to pick up and then to remain on, and the products, a lot of these products I would probably never have tried, and they've helped out with my life. So, with Ned and Bubs and those two especially, Ned and Bubs have been guys. You get that's to help just the lifestyle. So the podcast itself to me is just it's improved my life. Gives me an outlet to run my suck a lot, but also just some of the sponsors that I never would have probably used because of the podcast. So I see that as a tremendous benefit, and it's something that's a blessing. So that too.
I would say, man, I really appreciate having like the creative control to, yes, we're a military Second Amendment focused podcast, but if there's someone that I'm like, man, I really want to interview this person, it's cool that I don't have to answer to anybody. Yeah. I just have to think, like, with an audience like this, and do I think I'm going to do it a good interview? Then let's do it. So whether it's an athlete or an actor or a musician, I kind of like the fact that we could say, let's have this person on. We're, the main guests of the show are always going to be military, Second Amendment. That's always going to be 80% of the guests, I would say. But I like that, if we just have someone that's a little outside of that wheelhouse, but they could relay something interesting. I do like having that creative control, because I mean, I love having a job, part of my work here, like interviewing people that I really respect and getting to learn more about them. And I love how, like, we'll have someone on and they're really getting into the interview, because there's been a few instances where someone blocks out an hour at a time. They're a high profile guest, and we try to be cognizant of their time. We're like, hey, I know you got to get going. And they're like, No, I'm
Keep going.
and they'll go another hour with us. So to me, it tells me this isn't just like some crap they have to block out in their schedule to promote a project. They really enjoy coming on, and then they'll be like, man, I hope I can come back on sometime. And there's only so much we could do with only doing the show once a week. But like, yeah, when guests really like coming on, it means the world to me. And when you said it before too, when we hear stuff from them that they're like, I've never said this before in an interview, that means I think we did our job.
I guess have been awesome. I just think, and of course, the listeners, we've had tremendous listeners. That's why we keep doing it. So I don't, I'm not going to suck myself off anymore. Am I not allowed to say that? No, I'm on a podcast. What did we just say? We have creative control. We can say what the fuck we want. But it's been something that you and I were in New Jersey at that hotel. Like, hey, let's do a podcast. What was it? Yeah. Like, all right, fuck it. Let's do it. And here we are. And I think we're continually to get better and stronger, but let's not count our chickens before they hatch. In the meantime, with me, the interviews, the questions, I'm asking stuff that I want to know.
Yeah.
And I've said that on the show before. I don't give a shit what you listeners want to know. I want to ask what I want to know. And most of the time it's in the same wheelhouse as what everybody else wants to know. And to me, that allows some of the defense mechanisms of some of our guests, the walls come down, because it's like, hey man, I'm just asking just random question. What briefs were you wearing on that op? What color were they? That's cool to me. Like, yeah, shit. You wearing tighty whities, but and that's something that again, it's relatable to people, not the freaking stuff that's not relatable to everyday life. And I think we brought some relatability of the veterans that come on. They're not just guys that have been through combat. They're not just men and women that have seen shit. They're just people that go through shit, and they just happen to be in a situation that they had to act accordingly to get them and their brothers and sisters home. But in the end, it's the same as the rest of us. They still take shits. They still put their pants on at two legs. Well, except for Maddie, who has one leg. Sorry, I got you. But They put their pants on at the same time, and they still have problems that they go through and that they have to fight through. And I think that's what a lot of podcasts are missing. They're looking for that gotcha, that
yeah.
And no,
and to be fair, I mean, I think that is why. I don't think Jocko does that, or Rogan, and I think that's why those guys are the most successful. They might not have like the Instagram clip that's 60 seconds, and that's why, I mean, I'm not a fan of social media. I kind of have to have it, but to me, if you're and I'm preaching to the choir, obviously, but if your exposure to the podcast is a 90-second clip that we put up on Instagram, you're really not getting much out of it. You have to listen to the full interview to get something out of it. And I think, a lot of people are looking for, as you said, that like 15-second clip and that TikTok clip. And that's not my world. I like doing really long form interviews with people and getting to hear their whole life story, and not just what's going to be big on TikTok for today.
Or an instance. So guys, if you haven't, like Eric Parker's clips, I've been very blessed to serve and work with and be downrange with a lot of guys that have been through a lot of shit that people don't know about unless you listen to the podcast, this one. So like Eric, Nisser Square incident, Eric knows. Eric was there, and we'll get, he's my buddy. What the fuck am I? He Raven 23. Gosh, help me out. Why can't I remember his name? We're going to have him on. He was
Who were you thinking of?
Oh, we're going to have him on the show. Eric gave you his name. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can look back on our text here.
I'm a terrible fucking friend.
No, it happens to all of us. Like,
son of a bitch. But getting another, and someone that was actually part of that and can talk about on the ground, this is what happened. Not what you saw on Fox, not what you even heard on Rogan or Jocko. This guy was there. I know Tano. I worked with him. I trust him. I'm going to come on the show and I'm going to tell everybody what happened. And he's not going to sharpshoot me. He just wants me to tell. That's what I want, because I want you guys out there to talk about those incidents. And I'm if anything, the show has shown me, Jesus, I served and worked with a lot of fucking badasses that were incredible, that went through a lot of stuff. I mean, my story's one of hundreds are out there, and how lucky I am to be friends with a lot of these guys that went through incredible things downrange and have incredible stories and are willing to come on the show and talk about them. People aren't going to hear those anywhere else because, well, as we found out, we get more playback off the rock guys that come on than we do in the military community for some reason, which is fine with me.
That's another weird thing. Yeah. How we've gotten picked up by all these blabbermouth and metal injection. But I would think some of these interviews, I mean, the Nicer Square stuff, well, I don't know why military websites,
or even Sarah stuff.
I mean, the Benghazi stuff. I mean, there was stuff you never heard and you were there.
And so with Sarah being probably one of the best targeters, CI targeters that I had ever worked with, and over the career of 7-8 years I was with the agency. But yeah, those stories, you got to hear them. You got to listen to this. Got to hear these people. And they don't have a big TikTok, Twitter, or Twatter following or what. Who gives a shit? That's not who they are. They're real people that aren't that have been through a lot, and you can learn a lot from. We all can learn a lot from, and their stories are freaking amazing, and they will help everyone get through something that they're going through in life. I'm just honored, and we'll have plenty more on. I got lots more friends. I good friends, who else can have somebody on that actually was at ground zero when one of the biggest car bombs in Baghdad went off? That was Rob Jabber.
Yeah.
And him seeing the freaking, I mean, you always think and there are shock waves. There's overpressure is what we call it, or shock wave. But him seeing that shock wave, can you imagine? I just picture like the movies and them showing the Hiroshima bomb go off, and the movie showing them, and him standing at ground zero and getting and not dying and getting through it. You're not going to hear that anywhere else. These guys are heroes. These people are heroes. They're hard ass. And now what's he doing? He owns a limo company. In fact, that's who I just used in San Diego and Atlanta. He has a very successful limo company in Dearborn, Michigan. He's like everybody else. He just works his ass off, and he's very successful. But guys, where we're going. We're beating a dead horse, but I think people do like hearing that. I think people appreciate hearing like what we enjoy about the show, and they're invested in this for real, because I know that I get invested in shows that I really like. I mean, when I at the really golden years, I think, of Howard Stern, when Artie Lang was there, and like all the stuff Artie Lang was going, I felt like I knew the guy, but I don't really. I did get the chance to meet him, but like I felt like he was a friend of mine because I listened to the show every day, and I'm like that with podcasts now too. So I get it. That was a good shows. But I used to listen to those too before Howard Stern went all political, crazy,
lost his mind and
Trump derangement syndrome. Who gives a shit?
And basically, like, won't leave his basement.
Well, that was good radio back then.
Yeah, really I mean, it was like tragic hearing Artie doing heroin and getting into trouble with the law and stuff. But like, it was great entertainment, and you were like, man, when is this guy going to clean his life up? So I mean, I get it. People listen, feel invested, and I appreciate it. I'm excited for this weekend coming up. I'm going to be seeing tomorrow night. I'm going to be seeing Wasp playing in
Holy shit,
Huntington.
that's awesome.
I'm so psyched for that. I've been waiting for this. I bought tickets probably nearly a year ago, so that should be cool. I don't know if you have anything going on.
I'm home, guys, and I'm thank you all for this year. Has been successful for me and my family, and that's because of all y'all out there. I do appreciate that immensely, and it allows me now to where I can take a lot of time off to just be home, and that means a lot to me, because I'm very happy that all y'all out there have allowed me to be at a point in my life where at the end of the year it used to be where I'm home at the end of the year, but I'm not really home. I still am working. I can say, you know what, I'm done. I can go dark. Even Ian gets this. I'll go, Ian, I'm going dark for like a week. You're not gonna be able to get a hold of me if you need anything. You know how to. He has my wife's number. He knows how to get a hold of me if he needs it.
Neither of us, you or I, are like attached to our phone 24/7.
Nah, fuck no, that thing. In fact, detach yourselves from that thing, guys. Find time to do that at least for 48 hours. It really helps. It's like a colon cleanse. Your brain cleansing, your colon cleansing your mind. Guys, other than that, no, this has been amazing. We'll have a few more episodes up, and I appreciate all the sponsors out there that have been with us and that have actually changed my life as well. But biggest thing is just all those people that have been on the show so far. Thank you for opening up and telling your stories.
Yes.
I do believe we get more out of our guests than other shows do, that have people that have gone on other shows, because we just want to hear your story. And if, again, last thing, this is the Ranger way. You guys all know this, know me. We always circle back and say things 3 times. If you are a World War II vet out there, we want to have you on the show, and we want to hear your story, and we want people, they need to hear your story, because that was the toughest, most hardworking, greatest, most sacrificing generation out there. And I think that's what people need to hear right now.
Absolutely.
That's all for this episode of the Battleline Podcast, but we'll be back on Monday with more American straight talk. Until then, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Battleline Podcast and on Twitter at Battleline Pod. To sign up for future Battleline tactical courses, go to www.christantoparanto.net. Believe in yourself, face all challenges head on, and as always, never quit.